This is one of those videos I wish somebody else would have made and I wish I would have seen 2 years ago. That's why I'm making it for you right now. In this video today, I'm going to be talking about the 2 C words that I think every entrepreneur, regardless of their industry, should know as they go through business and especially as they're dealing with stuff in those early years. Those 2 words are cocky and consistent. I want to start with that cocky one. There's a lot of people, I think, with good intentions. We all have good intentions for the most part. They'll start a discussion, and this video might start a similar discussion. One of those discussions, it had to do with raising your prices. So one of the industries that my business is involved in is the wedding videography industry. Now, the wedding industry on its own really is the kind of industry where if you don't have a lot of connections or if you aren't willing to earn your stripes, it can be really difficult and tricky to start having a sustainable business. Those are just facts. There's a lot of Facebook forums out there where all they preach, especially these seasoned wedding filmmakers, 5 years into their business, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years into their business, when you're talking about half a decade or a full decade of experience, there's a lot of intangible knowledge that those kinds of filmmakers learn along the way. And that's not something that a lot of them are willing to share, simply because maybe they don't know how to convey that information and they don't even realize why they are where they are. They might think it's because their work is amazing. They might think it's because they've built up connections and all that. That's all part of the equation, but it really is just a small part of the equation. All that to say that a lot of these filmmakers who we look up to and we respect and we know they have good intentions, a lot of the times they were telling young videographers, new companies, to just raise your prices. If you've got a certain number of weddings under your belt and you believe in your product and you deliver a good product to the market, that you should raise your prices. It's better for everybody. If you go too cheap, then you're going to drive the prices down. The problem with that argument is you can only jack up your prices so much without actually building your brand along the way. And so that's where that intangible knowledge factor comes in, the intangible experiences that come along with just being in business for a certain amount of time. That leads me to my second C word, which is consistency. You have to be willing to consistently put in the work. Ryan Serhant, in his book, he talks about having balls in the air. I remember when I used to do real estate, renting apartments up in Boston. This was in 2015. My sales managers at the time would always ask me, what's in your pipeline? And I didn't quite understand that then. To me, it was like, what are you talking about? What's in my pipeline? I put ads on Craigslist. I have posted into Facebook groups saying, hey, look at this new apartment. I've gone and I've seen apartments and taken my own photos. And I thought just because I was doing the marketing that the business would come. I thought that following up with people was overkill. I thought that I was imposing. You're dealing with emotional affairs. Weddings are all about emotion. Am I wrong? Am I wrong in saying that weddings are all about emotion? I mean, 2 people are getting married. They love each other. You're not just selling the film itself. You're selling the experience. Let me just back up a bit. So in 2018, we had our best year ever, and things were looking really good for us. We had booking after booking. All of a sudden, we started getting referrals. The connections that we had made with other wedding vendors in the area were tremendous, and they really liked our work and they trusted us. As the year went on, the bookings kind of slowed down. I really think it goes back to the being cocky and not being consistent. In August, we went to Costa Rica together. That was the first time that I had ever left the country. That's where Daniela was born. It had been about 7 years since she was there, and we loved that time there. It was worth every day, each penny that we spent on that trip. But during that time, that's really when the wedding booking slowed down. We came back, we had to catch up on some films that we were still editing, and I really think that we were just focused on editing. We weren't really focused on growing the business. We weren't really focused on educating ourselves and increasing our sales knowledge. We weren't focused on continuing to cultivate those relationships that had brought us all those referrals. We were kind of sitting pretty. And I remember in July, before we went to Costa Rica, we went up to New England and we were there for a few weeks. We actually had to fly back to Georgia in the middle of that trip because a week or 2 before, we got an inquiry for an elopement up in the North Georgia mountains. That ended up being one of our best films last year. When we landed at Logan, we're walking through the terminal and we get an email from a lead that had come in 2-3 months ago. This was a referral too, by the way. She says, hey, I'm ready to book. And so that was like, wow, we had just booked this elopement. Now we're booking this as we're coming off the plane. All of a sudden, August comes around. Our trip up in July is over. We come back to Georgia and try to catch up on some more editing, pack and prepare and plan for our trip in Costa Rica. And right before we left for Costa Rica, we got another booking for a wedding in November. It seemed last year too that the trend was we were getting a lot of last minute bookings, you know, people getting married within 1 to 3 months. So we come back from Costa Rica and we had to finish editing that mountain elopement film that I was talking about. And then the only other weddings we had at that time, 2 weddings in November. In December we had another wedding, our last wedding of the year, with an amazing couple. The communication we had leading up to the wedding was amazing. We really gelled with them. They were from New England too, and so we had an amazing connection, and it led to a beautiful film. At the time, it was like, wow, look at how many weddings we have to the amount of revenue we've generated. I think our average booking was around $3,000. The thing about that is we weren't consistent. Besides being inconsistent and focusing more on the creation and the art, because it's easy to think, oh well, we're filmmakers after all, business will come, the business will come. Like, each film has gotten better than the last. The business is just gonna come, right? No, it doesn't work that way. If you're a business owner, there's a reason that business owner is in there. I don't care what industry you're in. If you have a business, you're a business owner. So you gotta figure out a way to generate more people coming in. As you start to scale up and as you start to see your numbers increase, your revenue going up, it's very easy also to get cocky. Once your bank account starts to go up, oh, now you start to feel more comfortable. So there's another C word. Your comfort increases. And the comfort and the cockiness go hand in hand. You can justify a vacation, right? In theory, you can justify, you know, traveling back-to-back months while not setting yourself up for when you return, you know, not thinking long term. Honestly, I'm so grateful for everything that happened last year. What it has allowed me to do is connect to people like you here on YouTube. It has forced both of us to become more creative in our thinking, in our output, and our desire to really grow. And I've realized the best way to grow is to invest in yourself. They say that when you spend money on something, whether it's a book, a course, maybe even a mastermind, through the process of spending the money, a transformation takes place. Transformation is only as good as the work that you're willing to put in. And if you don't feel like it's worth it, if you don't actually believe in what you're doing, you won't really put the work in. In reality, you're just spinning your wheels. You know, you're not spending time with your family. You're not taking time to go on a hike, to understand what your values are, what's actually driving you. Why do you really want to run this business the way you thought when you first started it 2 years ago? So understanding your why. And if you're too cocky, it's hard to see your why. As you start to make this transformation, you start to realize that all money is a flow of energy, and money ebbs and flows. What comes in inevitably will go out. So you need to make sure that every penny is being funneled into the right direction, is being put into the right resource that will reap the most reward for you. In summary, in a season of slowness, whatever your business is, whatever your industry is, I really pray that you would see that as a time of opportunity. Maybe this is a sign that I need to invest more in my education. Maybe this is a sign that, yes, I should raise my rates, but I need to do that responsibly. I need to do that based on how much business I know is coming in, based on how much I know that I've networked with other people in my industry. Bonus word that I want to throw out there, it's another C word, and that word is conviction. If you really believe in what you're doing, if you really believe that what you're doing is part of your calling, you will find a way, even in the leanest of times. It's easy to think you have to do this and you have to do that. You have to fulfill a vision that someone else had for you, but you don't. It comes down to what you believe. Never second guess that. So if the results aren't coming, believe harder, but think of what you can do during that slow time. I hope that makes sense, and I hope this isn't too painful to kind of talk about money and to kind of talk about slow seasons in a business, but that's what being in a business is. It's not always going to be this amazing, glamorous thing. Every year will be different, and every year, hopefully, you're growing, if not in revenue, in knowledge, and knowledge is power. You've heard me say that many times on this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe. Also drop a comment. What is one thing that you're going to work on, even if your business is not slow right now? I want everyone to think of one thing that they can work on right now that's going to set them up for more success in 3, 6, 12 months. Let me know in the comments. I will close out by saying this. Remember to work smarter, not harder.